And welcome back, this is Baller Scuba with more Radical Dreamers. When we last left off, we beat the game. Well, at least we beat one scenario. I mistakenly referred to this as a scenario selection screen. That is not accurate. You cannot select anything from here. This is a scenario checklist. So we have finished one of the 7. In order to access the other 6, we do need to finish that first one. So now that that is done, let's go for the alternate storylines, so to speak, for Radical Dreamers. So just hit the OK button. Unfortunately, with this setup, I can't really use the saves because I don't have a Satellaview, so I'm going barely off of save states here. But it looks like it starts over, and essentially it does, but we do have more options now to kind of change what happens in the story. Let's go with fast speed. And we will essentially start again. Boy, did her information help. I thought the perimeter's counterspell would be quite a problem. Kid's braid sways gently from side to side in the cool nighttime breeze. So far, we've managed to slip through the magical shield network undetected and sneak into Lynx's domain. Still, this inner region can make for some pretty rough travel. This all sounds very familiar. Kid, Magil, and I comprise this party of 3. However, while walking behind Kid, I can't help but notice her ponytail endlessly swishing back and forth, back and forth, back and to the left. I'm starting to get sleepy, so sleepy. So here we are actually going to sleep. This is our first new option, and we are going to take kind of a different approach. Now, in my mind, because we fall asleep here, none of what we're about to do is canon. But if you want to make the argument, feel free. Surge! Surge! Huh? Snap out of it, lazy bones! Looking up, the tall, shadowy mansion of Lord Lynx looms before me. I can't believe we're there already. I must have really been out of it. The hell were you daydreaming about, mate? Let's go, Kid says, disappearing into the mansion. Hey, wait up, Kid! I shout, frantically chasing after her. However, she's already deep inside. The darkness engulfs me. Once again, sounds a little familiar. A little different this time, though. Passages extend to the left and right. Wherever we turn, darkness awaits. So which way do we go now? I ask, wiping the chilly sweat from my brow. What was that? I could have sworn I saw a faint light illuminating the hallway just then. It's probably just the moonlight shining in through a skylight, I tell myself. However, looking up at the ceiling, there's no such skylight can be found. Hey, Serge, what are you staring at? We got a job to do here. I look down the hallway only to see Kid already barely visible down the long, dark corridor. I better not cross her. Go catch up with her right away. This is another option, so let's go with this. Suddenly, a blood-curdling screech cuts through the darkness. Scared stiff at the deafening sound, I look up to see 2 gigantic, maddening red eyeballs staring straight at me. It's a griffin. Did we get a random battle? Okay, I guess I'll take it. Before I can even unsheath my knife, it starts to flap its wings viciously, conjuring a tremendous gust of wind. I knock clear off my feet, banging my head up against a wall. Serge, you okay? My body aches from head to toe. I struggle to ignore the pain as I hastily get back up. I bend down to grab my knife. As I stand back up with it in my hand, I suddenly realize the griffin has already cornered me off. It stands no less than a few feet in front of me, its enraged red eyes glowing like ember. What am I going to do now? Ram it! I start sprinting towards the griffin, hoping to bash it with all my weight. As I come in close, it swings at me with one of its claws. Razor-sharp talons tear across my torso. Pulling my shirt down over the wound, I try to ignore the pain and regain my focus. Trying to break free of that ferocious, visceral gaze. I remember the knife I'm holding up and grip it tight. Attack! Quickly switching my knife to a backhanded grip, I swing at the griffin's neck with all my rage. The griffin writhes in pain as blood starts trickling down its neck. Alright, a weak spot. Twitching in pain, the griffin tries to get up. Kid steps over to it with my knife in hand, ready to finish the job. Don't move, Serge, I hear Kid shout. Suddenly, she vaults over my shoulders from behind. Ha! Alright. She's landed a powerful jump kick on the side of the griffin's neck. Its head snaps backwards, letting loose a terrifying howl. The griffin starts to slowly move in on me, one step at a time, then suddenly it stops. With a blank look in its eyes, it stumbles a bit, and then comes crashing to the ground with a huge thud. And we have won. Kneeling down, I rest for a moment to tend to my wounds. Hey, no whining, you're not that bad, mate. I've seen worse hangovers than how you look right now. I wish I had her determination. After I finish applying my bandages, I get up, hoping I'll be okay. I can't start to give up now, but boy, these cuts are really starting to hurt. You got a thing or two to learn, but you're getting there, mate. Kid's mischievous eyes sparkle as I glance at her for a moment in the dim moonlight. I set off down the corridor with her, ready for what's next. After a while, seriously, the first freaking thing is a random battle. After a while, the path splits into three directions. To the left is a descending staircase, while the path on the right extends into darkness. Another passageway lies ahead. We are going to head down the right path. We head down the path. After a while, it ends at a stained wooden door. We're going to go in. If you remember correctly, this is the study. The layout is the same. Guess this is the study. This huge room is faintly lit by the moonlight shining in through a tall window. In the back of the room stands a large, ornately decorated desk. Row after row of bookshelves house thousands of thick, dusty books. A painting is hung on the rear wall, sharing space with various exotic curios. We're going to examine the desk again. I walk over and open a drawer in the mahogany desk. The drawers contain writing materials and documents arranged in an orderly fashion. Unfortunately, they don't seem to contain anything worth mentioning. But then, a small picture in the drawer catches my eye. It's a portrait of a friendly-looking girl with a faint smile on her face. I hold it up, wondering who it could be. It's probably Lynx's adopted daughter, Kid says, looking over my shoulder with her nose crinkled. Pedophile. A faint gasp from behind me suddenly catches my attention. Turning around, I see Magil walking over to us with his eyes fixed firmly on the picture. I don't think I've ever seen him like this before. What is it, Magil? My question visibly startles Magil, but after a few moments he returns to his usual wooden face. Nothing. His firm response doesn't leave much room for questioning. We're wasting valuable time. We should look elsewhere. Oh, we're wasting valuable time. We should look elsewhere, Magil says abruptly, turning towards the door. Figured that was Kid for sure. Kid and I look at each other, perplexed. What's his problem? Don't ask me. Hey, Magil, wait up. And we do leave the study. Retracing our steps through the dark passageway, finally the passage comes to a three-way branch. There's a descending staircase in front of us, in addition to passageways on the right and left. The one on the left will take us back towards the terrace. We're going to descend the stairs. As I start to slowly descend the stairs in the dim light, I stretch my hands out in front of me to try to feel for something. However, all I'm greeted with is the moist feeling of these grimy stone walls. We've descended the staircase. To the left lies a huge stone archway, and to the right we can see a narrow path twisting into the darkness. We're going to go right. The passageway makes a sharp turn to the right before stretching on through the subterranean maze. Before long, we're greeted with a beautifully ornate set of doors on the right. Strange. There's a distinct smell of flowers coming from here. I think you guys do remember this room. This is Riddel's room. Let's head in. Various trinkets are scattered around this decorative room, adding a bit of charm to an otherwise dreary mansion. A luxurious desk and a light, fluffy bed add to the elegant nature. Is someone there? A woman's voice asks all of a sudden. Kid and I instantly hide behind a closet, ready for anything. A fair girl comes into view from out of a dark corner. It must have been my imagination, she says, apparently not yet aware of us. I remain perfectly still while holding my breath, wondering what to do next. Then, all of a sudden, a shadow over by the desk begins to tremble. Magil. He suddenly materializes, placing himself directly across from the girl. She's overcome with shock seeing this. In desperation, all she can do is muster out the words. Who? What? What do you want? Let's be honest, it worked for us last time. We're thieves, but I hope this girl can recognize a good thief when she sees one. Apparently Magil is not one. We're thieves, but we mean you no harm, I say hesitantly, wondering if that came out right. Kid stares at me doubtfully, most likely confused by what I'm getting myself into. Seeing the situation unfold before her eyes, the girl stands there with a blank look on her face, pale as a ghost. Who are you people? She asks, unable to mask her increasing fear. Magil steps in and speaks in a comforting tone. I apologize on behalf of my party if we startled you. We intend no harm, my lady. Despite his persuasiveness, the girl seems to remain unconvinced and starts to panic. Stop, thieves! Don't come any closer! This is hopeless. Let's tie her up and gag her. Sure, that'll work. I move over to the bed and start to pull off the sheets. Kid comes over and helps, saying, what do you say we toss her in the dresser? Honestly, I don't think it matters which of those options you pick. Magil approaches us and grabs the sheets out of our hands before we can make our move. With a look of pity in his eyes, he looks back towards the girl. She seems shocked at this turn of events, to say the least, not knowing what to think. Sorry, Magil, I was only trying to do what's best, I say, ashamed. However, before Magil can respond, the girl takes a breath and turns to us to speak. Yet, you're not supposed to say names, man. This is a heist. Don't give real names. Magil? You're Magil? Did you once go by the name Gilbert? Hearing that name, Magil takes on a look of shock. Riddell, is that you? He says in a surprisingly vulnerable tone. Gilbert, it's really you. My dear, dear Gilbert, she says, taking his hand. Gilbert? What the? I have worried about you ever so much. Oh, this is him? What? I have worried about you ever so much, he says in a deeply sentimental voice. Yeah, that's so unlike Gilbert, I guess. Kid, suddenly tinged with anxiety, interrupts the two. Hey, Lovebird, we're here for the Frozen Flame, not damsels in distress, remember? The Frozen Flame? Asks Riddell, bewildered. Yes, these are my companions, Magil says in his usual dry tone a moment later. Kid and I glance at each other. This evening is a blessing, bequeathed to us by that shimmering red jewel's fate, Magil says to Riddell. Oh, brother. All this girl stuff is starting to unravel him. Kid's starting to get agitated, however. I've got a feeling there are a few things that could keep her from getting the Frozen Flame tonight, and none of them wear high heels. Despite her increasing impatience with the situation, Magil goes on and on. Ever since my childhood, I have thought of you. My heart has yearned ever so madly, only for you. Oh, Gilbert. It is true, my dear Riddell. Therefore, about the promise. Suddenly, Riddell turns away from Magil. Promise? She asks in a voice so quiet it's almost inaudible. Yes, my dear. Surely you haven't forgotten our secret promise, the one we made to each other on that beautiful day in the garden. You have not forgotten the vows of marriage we bestowed on one another, have you? Riddell continues to avert her eyes from Magil. I will hear no more of this childish nonsense, she shouts. That wasn't a very good shout, but she shouted it, burying her head in her hands once again. Ask if there is any interest at all left in her. Ask if there is someone else. Well, there's clearly some form of interest. Is there someone else? Is there someone else? Magil asks after a moment or two. Apparently I could control Magil for that decision. Barely able to keep himself composed. Gilbert, She breaks off, unable to finish the sentence. Her shoulders sag as she starts to lament again. Sheesh, Magil, talking to her like that ain't gonna help. Save your issues for Lynx. Kid interjects, bringing Magil back to reality. Riddell continues to sob, more and more bewildered by the moment. This is hopeless, mate. We've wasted enough time here. We gotta get going. But as it is, leaving this lovely lady alone would be a mistake. She may tell someone about us, or perhaps she's in danger, Magil says to Kid, staring at Riddell. Jeez, I know why you want to stay here, and it ain't that, Kid says, rolling her eyes. Kid, please, leave this to me, Magil shouts. For Magil, that's a shout. Riddell, watching all this, stares at Magil intensely, probably now wondering if he's the one with something to hide. Magil feverishly explains, please allow me to introduce Kid, a business associate of mine. Dude, names! Kid, bored to tears, does her best to get us out of this situation. Business associate? Is that what you're calling me now? Oh, come on, mate. Just last night you were... Damn it. I can't believe she's saying this. That's not Magil's job. That's my job. I rush to cover her mouth up with my hand, saying, she's a little confused right now. Don't mind her. After a moment, Kid stops wrestling me and I let go of her. Teeth marks as red as blood stand out on my fingers. Gilbert, you really think I'm a lovely lady? Seeing a new ray of hope before his eyes, Magil picks up where he left off. Only of the loveliest kind, my lady. Indeed, it's true. You have blossomed into a fair and delicate young woman. I'm staying out of this, I say to myself. I've got enough problems with my own love life, particularly the lack thereof. But then, suddenly, another voice echoes out, entering in through the doorway. Mistress Riddell, you will remember to mind your manners around our guests, won't you? Who's this? Oh, Noelle, you know how I dislike it when you call me mistress, Riddell exclaims.